How Biden's Wilmington residence became subject to investigation from family home. Last August, when President Joe Biden left the White House at his home in Wilmington, Delaware, over the other weekend, he told reporters he brought the president's daily his briefs. Secret. Before boarding Marine One, Mr. Biden said, "I have a fully secure locked room in my house. Today's PDB takeaway. It's locked. I have one person. I'm a military man with me. Read it, lock it, and hand it over to the military." Biden responded to a question about whether it was appropriate for the president to take classified documents home. A few weeks ago, the FBI raided Donald Trump's former president Mar-a-Lago mansion, killing hundreds of. "I found a top-secret document. It depends on the documentation," Biden said. "And it depends on how secure the room is." Security at Biden's Wilmington home has been the focus of a special counsel's handling of classified materials after classified documents were found in two of his home's garages and adjacent rooms. None of these areas seem to fit the secure, locked room for classified materials Biden described. Mr. Biden's lawyers gave the green light to the search, but were not present when various rooms, including Mr. Biden's personal library, were searched, according to people familiar with the matter. The discovery comes after 10 classified documents, including U.S. intelligence memos and briefing papers from the Obama administration, were first found in a closet in Biden's former personal office in downtown Washington in November. Continue. At the Wilmington home in January when Biden's legal team searched the remaining property for documents after a December search found a few records marked as classified in the garage. A third discovery was made. They found her in the next room in the garage. "We found that a handful of documents were filed in the wrong places," Biden said Thursday while touring California's storm damage. "I think you'll see there's nothing there. I have no regrets," he continued, arguing that the American public's interest lies elsewhere. "I do what my lawyers say, what they ask of me. That's exactly what we do." None. Biden claims the classified documents were in a locked garage, but who had access to the classified documents is not only known to special counsel Robert Hare, but also to Mr. Biden's classified documents. It's an important issue for House Republicans who sorted out the handling of the material in the long list of investigations directed against Biden and his administration. After the appointment of the special counsel, it's going to be a crime scene of sorts, Rep. James Comer, the newly appointed House Oversight Committee Republican chairman, said in CNN's State of the Union Sunday. About Biden's house in Delaware. Working house. For years, Biden has run an important, sometimes covert business out of his white, 3-bedroom, 4-bathroom colonial in the leafy suburb of Wilmington, Delaware. His decades as a senator, including chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, have been marked by weekend train rides home from Washington. The tradition continued as vice president. A secure facility was built on his lakefront property to allow Biden to safely handle classified material. Nestled in a sprawling mansion in Delaware's most affluent area, Biden's gabled home is far from easily accessible. Not visible from the street. And while Biden was vice president and president again, the facility was tightly controlled by the Secret Service. During that time, however, security at the Wilmington home was greatly reduced. In mid-2017, when Biden's time as a federal protection officer ended, a Secret Service agent who had been stationed at the house for years left the house for good. The safe facilities that had been there were eventually removed. It wasn't until Biden approached the Democratic presidential nominee in March 2020 that secret protection by his service resumed. Exactly when the classified documents first arrived in Biden's garage remains open. The administration offered Biden his space in his 5,300-square-foot office in downtown Washington for several months after he took office as vice president. Biden's transition team has vacated the space, according to a July 21, 2017 General Services Administration statement. Republicans in Congress demanded a log of visitors to his home, and Biden's son, Hunter, who used a Wilmington address on his driver's license, filed documents when he was doing business abroad. "I'm wondering if it's even possible that I was able to access the." It's unclear how much time Hunter Biden spent at his Wilmington home in the months leading up to his father's campaign. According to Hunter's memoir Beautiful Things, in 2019, the house was the site of the family's tearful intervention over Hunter's drug addiction. "You wrote that you landed in Los Angeles on the moon." Both the White House office and the U.S. Secret Service said Monday there were no visitor logs tracking guests to and from Biden's Wilmington home. Like all presidents over the decades, his personal residence is private. But after his inauguration, President Biden revived the norm and tradition of keeping White House visitor records, including regular disclosures after the previous administration ended them. Biden and his wife Jill purchased his 4-acre lot of this home for his $350,000 in 1996, according to Newcastle County real estate records. They built a 6,850-square-foot home with 3 bedrooms and 4.5 bathrooms. Biden designed the house himself and later also did the landscaping, including planting a Leland cypress tree that nearly died from the drought. The family moved in around Christmas 1998. The grounds include a pool, a library with his Chesterfield sofas, and a conservatory overlooking a small artificial lake built by the DuPont family, one of the richest families in the area. Biden's sister, Val Biden Owens, has a home near the Pennsylvania state line, and former Delaware Senator Ted Kaufman is Biden's best friend and Biden's longest-serving senator. "I was one of the advisors who lived just a few minutes away." When Biden's eldest son Beau was battling brain cancer, Biden considered taking out a second mortgage on his Wilmington home to help with the costs associated with his son's treatment. When Biden told then-President Barack Obama about the situation, Obama offered to lend him money instead. "I'll give you the money, you can pay me back anytime." Post-Vice President. After his tenure as Vice President, Biden spent more time in Wilmington, befriending his late son Beau's children. The Bidens also purchased a seaside retreat on his beach in Rehoboth, Delaware, the summer after they left the White House, using part of Biden's schedule book advance to buy the house. But Biden spent much of his time between Wilmington and his rented mansions in McLean, a wealthy Northern Virginia enclave home to many former senators. The couple wanted to be based in the Washington area while Jill continued to teach at Northern Virginia Community College. Aides often said Biden just wanted to be where his wife was. His proximity to the Capitol allowed him to meet regularly with advisors planning his political future and to travel to the Penn Biden Center think tank for meetings with lawmakers and foreign leaders. "Being in the D.C. area also gave me easy access to my granddaughter's Maisie's soccer game." But the Wilmington home remains the center of family activity, with Biden's eldest granddaughter, Naomi Biden, calling for the family to reunite and for the grandchildren to pop to run for president for a third time. Urged. Sources say that once Biden's presidential run began, he left the campaign to spend more time at his home in Wilmington, and eventually McLean a few months into the campaign. It is said that he moved from his home. When the COVID-19 pandemic pushed Americans into isolation, Biden withdrew to his Wilmington home. In March 2020, a small group of his campaign workers, discreetly donning masks and gloves, set up a makeshift studio in his basement where Biden could conduct his Zoom appearances and interviews. That same month, Secret Service protections were resumed as Biden came closer to winning the Democratic nomination. Face-to-face meetings with advisors have been replaced by teleconferences, with limited numbers of employees in and out of their homes. Biden interviewed most of his potential running mates via video chat, eventually calling Kamala Harris, then the Democratic senator representing California, from his private library in the Wilmington mansion to tell her I let her know that was his choice. Months later, as election night rolled into election week, the Biden family, including Hunter, Ashley, their spouses, and grandchildren, huddled indoors to watch the election results. Hunter Biden said when Biden's race was called, "Mom and Dad were on the dock at the pond and we all ran to the porch and yelled, 'You just won.'" Quote. Back to the White House. When Biden was elected president, his services increased their presence in Wilmington. The dual-lane road leading to his driveway is now patrolled by cops and investigators, and access to the house is tightly controlled. Visitors he is checked and monitored around the clock. Mr. Biden has visited Delaware 61 times since his inauguration, and spent some or all of his 196 days in Delaware during his presidency. This includes visits to his home in Wilmington and Rehoboth Beach. The Bidens will be spending next weekend at their home in Rehoboth Beach. As president, Biden has made his home in Wilmington the White House for the weekend. From there, he called Russian President Vladimir Putin and had breakfast with Democratic West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin. People familiar with how the president works say he does a lot of his work from his home in Wilmington and always travels with advisors to the National Security Council. He sometimes schedules trips to Delaware into his daily schedule. He has been there twice on Fridays in mid-December. This afternoon, Biden appeared at an event at the Joseph R. Biden III National Guard Reserve Center in Newcastle, Delaware to discuss improved health care for veterans and veterans exposed to toxins while on duty. We talked about funding the military. Biden then returned to the White House for a few hours, part of which was his Christmas party. He then returned to Delaware that evening and drove to his home in Wilmington. From National Guard headquarters he is 15 minutes by car. Comment day. On his final weekend in Wilmington before the Christmas holidays, Biden visited the mall, attended Mass, and visited the graveyard of his late wife Nelia and daughter Naomi, to mark the 50th anniversary of his tragic death. Returned to Washington late Monday morning. The next day, as Biden was preparing for a secret visit by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, his lawyers searched the Wilmington home for classified materials. Searching the garage, they came across a few papers with secret markings not far from where he kept his 1967 Stingray Corvette.